Now we move the presentation that Dr. Phil Sakimoto has for us.
So good afternoon or good morning, depending on where in the world you are. It falls to me to open our session by taking a page from my past background as an astrophysicist and the former head of NASA's public education program in space science. I'd like to offer some motivation for you by reminding you of the tremendous gift that God has given us, a gift that began 13.8 billion years ago with the Big Bang, an event that the Vatican has called a mighty and beautiful act of energy, love, and light. This is the light from the Big Bang at a time when all there was in the universe was energy in the form of light, with some of it coalescing into atomic particles. As the universe expanded and cooled, structures like stars and galaxies began to appear. Trillions of galaxies, among which our attention is drawn to one very special galaxy, the Milky Way, within which lies one special star, our sun. The sun provides energy, light, to our planet Earth, which makes it possible for life to thrive here. But life on Earth was not always as it is now. The early Earth had an atmosphere that was mostly carbon dioxide, which was wonderful for early plant life, such as the cyanobacteria, the blue-green algae, which you can still see today in these pancake-shaped structures called stromatolites that we find in Western Australia. The algae and the higher order plants that followed removed most of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and replaced it with oxygen. They created the oxygen that allowed animals and eventually you and me to come into being. But where did the carbon go? It was incorporated into the structures of the plants and eventually buried underground, where some of it became sequestered in the form of fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas. Now, if all of creation is a gift to us, then we have the moral responsibility to treat that gift wisely, to nurture and protect it. But unfortunately, we are not doing so. Instead, we are digging up those fossil fuels and burning them. And burning means that we're reattaching oxygen to the carbon, releasing energy, which we use, and producing carbon dioxide. We are quite literally recreating that original carbon dioxide, putting it up in the air, with the net result, as you well know, that we are causing the Earth to get warmer, with severe consequences for our everyday lives. We are, in a very real sense, undoing the billions of years of the gift of creation that God has given us. In response, in 2015, Pope Francis issued the encyclical, you know well, Laudato Si, Care for Our Common Home. In it, he says forthrightly that there is a solid scientific consensus as to the reality of climate change and to the fact that we human beings are the ones who are causing it. The science and related social issues reported in Laudato Si are very, very accurate. They are based on findings of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, bodies comprised of the very best researchers in their respective fields. Pope Francis called them together. He wanted to hear from them exactly what we know about the state of our planet. They told him. He wrote it down, and this formed the basis upon which Pope Francis made his urgent appeal to every person on Earth to engage in a new dialogue on the future of our planet. That's what we're doing right now. We will talk in this session about how we, as members of creation care teams, can work towards changing the lifestyles in our homes, our parishes, our dioceses, in order to help mitigate the ravages of climate change and indeed to care not only for the gift of creation in our world, but also to care for every single person on this planet. But before we get there, let me underscore the urgent need for rapid and substantial actions by briefly reviewing how, in the scant 6 years since Laudato Si was written, this climate crisis has become, sadly, much, much worse. The Arctic, it's warming 2 or 3 times faster than the rest of the planet because of a phenomenon we call Arctic amplification. In short, in places where there was once ice, such as this wonderful scene of the John Muir Glacier in Alaska in 1880, that white ice reflected a lot of sunlight back into space. But now, at that very same location, the ice is gone, melted away. The exposed bare ground and water absorbs more heat from the sun than the ice did. Thus, the ground and water get warmer, which encourages more ice to melt, which leads to more absorption of heat and so forth. The rate of warming is amplified. As one consequence of this, in the rapidly warming Arctic tundra in Siberia, we have recently found huge craters that have been blown open by bubbles of methane being released from underground. Methane traps 30 times more heat than does carbon dioxide. So with thousands of these methane craters showing up all over Siberia, the warming is accelerating even more, which releases more methane, which drives the warming ever faster, and so it goes. Just last week, a new report came out showing that oceanic dead zones, areas near the coastlines where oxygen is depleted because of the warming coupled with fertilizer runoff, these areas are emitting nitrous oxides. And nitrous oxides have not 30 times, but 300 times the heat trapping capacity of carbon dioxide, which leads to even more rapid warming, which releases more nitrous oxide. You know how this goes by now. Findings such as these, and many others, are too new to be included in the climate models and the government science reports that you're used to hearing about. The fact of the matter is that the rate of warming is now increasing much faster than even you, who I know are well tuned into this stuff, much faster than even you think it is. Climate-driven extreme weather disasters are now occurring so frequently that if you're paying attention, you will see them in the news almost every day. The imbalance of warming, the fact that that the poles are now warming faster than the rest of the planet means that the temperature difference, pole to equator, is lessening, which weakens the jet stream, causes it to get kinky like this, which allows cold air to come down far south, warm air to move far north at different places and different times. And you've seen this happen. You saw it last February with the incredible cold experienced all the way in southern Texas. And you're seeing it right now with the ridiculous heat waves. This is a map released 2 days ago by climate scientist Jim Hansen, one of my former colleagues at NASA. And it shows that in the month of June, we had temperature anomalies, that is, temperatures 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit higher than normal throughout the western part of North America, Europe, Asia. And in many cases, we were seeing high temperatures that are all-time record highs for their locality. A study released 3 days ago estimates that now we are experiencing some 5 million deaths every year due just to extreme heat or extreme cold. 5 million deaths every year. That's 1 million more each year than the total number of deaths from COVID. Our most recent hurricane, last week's Elsa, fortunately was only a Category 1, but as the hurricane season progresses, and it's starting earlier than normal this year, the sea surface will get hotter, and we are sure to see an ever-increasing number of Category 4 or 5 superstorms. But Elsa did cause a lot of flooding, as we expected, because the air is warmer. Warm air holds more moisture than does cooler air. And so when it rains, there's more water to dump. That's happened along our eastern seaboard. And it's happening in a report I saw this morning from the AP about incredible flooding throughout Europe, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, flooding that in some places is 2 months of rain falling in just 2 days. Catastrophic flooding like this is going to become more and more and more commonplace. Other areas are experiencing droughts. With the great heat in the West, we're having all-time record drought in the Western US. And the areas of our southern neighbors and the so-called dry corridor in Central America, year after year of drought, it's causing people to be forced to leave their homes because they can no longer grow food there. And so they're trying to make their way north, causing this so-called crisis on our southern border. By 2050, estimates say we could have as many as 200 million climate refugees, people seeking new places to live because climate change has made living in their original homes no longer possible. 200 million people. That's 25 New York cities. That's 2/3 the population of the US. Most of them very poor, many of them children who need to be resettled, leading to the most critical global human dignity problem perhaps we've ever seen. Globally, these extreme weather catastrophes racked up here year by year from 1980 to the present 2020, with storms in this yellow-orange, floods, mudslides in blue, extreme temperatures, droughts, fires in red. You see we're getting up to nearly 1,000 extreme weather catastrophes every year. And with each coming year, it's only going to get worse. So immediate aggressive actions are needed now, not 10, 20, 30 years in the future, now. But you know what? We can stop climate change in its tracks. We have in hand all the technologies we need. What we don't have is the societal will to employ them on large scales. So that is why this Laudato Si action platform is so important. As you heard last night, the Vatican is asking every Catholic organization on earth to make a 7-year commitment to responding to the call of Laudato Si. Out of the 7 types of organizations targeted, we're focusing in this section on parishes and dioceses, and specifically on what creation care teams can do to meet the 7 goal areas of Laudato Si. And we have a particular focus on the response to the cry of the earth, because if we don't respond to the cry of the earth, if we don't stop climate change, we can't respond effectively to the cry of the poor. And these other goals, economics, lifestyles, education, spirituality, that's the basis of how we change the way we live. That lets us address the climate crisis. The role of the Catholic Church is profound. The Catholic Church is arguably the largest international organization in the world. If we can move Catholics in every corner of the globe to become active and vocal about climate change, we could quite literally change the future of our planet. We, concerned Catholics, have the power to do that. So let's get started.